Hello, 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 folks. Welcome back to Holding Space. Melinda Zapone, if you're here on Substack. And Enya, everyone needs you always. If you're on Spotify or YouTube, thank you for allowing me to slow down this summer and just put out episodes that really make sense and match with the pace of summer. And in saying that, therapists are people too. My mind lies just like yours does. So this is about how I got out of my own way again. And I want to just let everyone know that change is really possible. It doesn't start with mindset or knowing. Your nervous system reacts with and to the person you want to be. When things don't work out, it's not willpower, discipline, or knowledge. And that's why we're going our own pace this summer with the episodes. I do just want to say that we're all in need of a presence in our lives, nurturing, wise, protective, peaceful. Rather than sharing a reel, sending a text, or using an emoji to show your presence in someone's life, consider sharing Holding Space free subscription. It could be just the presence they need in a world where people turn to AI to figure things out on their own rather than asking for support. And I hope that everyone does head over to Substack to just get the visual. There's this amazing visual that I found of a head kind of all rocky and submerged halfway underwater with the caption, "The hardest prison to escape from is the mind." So we're going to start there with the mind lies. I don't know if you've ever noticed how easily we accept ideas that seem true. For decades, people were told not to swim after eating because it would cause cramps and could even be dangerous. It sounded logical, so it became accepted as fact despite little scientific evidence to support it. And if you don't believe me, you can look it up. There's no scientific evidence. But our minds do this all the time. We mistake what seems true for what is true. We cannot think truthful intuition. Intuition is warm. It's a sensation of what to do or not to do and what to trust, not a thought. We don't logic intuition. So if you think you do, you are caught in a thought lie. I am privileged to be a therapist for 20 years. It has healed my intuition greatly. I can open to people in pain and sense it warmly without fear. However, that does not mean the same occurs in my personal life, and this can be confronting. Recently, I got in my own way in a relationship. I had done a lot of inner work with since my last heartbreak, dating minimally and playing it safe while I excavated the wounds of the past so that if anyone was going to dig them up again, I had done it myself first. I created the toolbox approach, developed a healing program for my therapy goers, and felt like a better therapist, even more trauma informed than 6 years prior when the pandemic hit. But there was something I had overlooked, my own tendency to create a thought prison for myself. This is not because I wasn't healed enough. It's because it is the nature of the mind to lie for the sake of quick safety. In prison, even though it's uncomfortable, it's predictable. Everything can be monitored and strategized. One can get used to being hyper alert as a form of safety. So I completely missed my disappointment turning into a critic after several dates and no build in attraction. I could feel my body repelled by romance, but my mind said, "What's wrong with you?" With that as my thought prison, I went on a couple more dates and eventually ended it. It was both the truth of what needed to occur and not necessarily due to missing attraction or uncomfortable repulsion alone, but because of an impenetrable thought prison issue affecting my emotional safety. I wanted to be thinking, I'm free to keep dating and build attraction. I was an open and good companion. It just wasn't a match. Instead, I started questioning, what's wrong with me? So let's talk about broken narratives. When I was a child, a lot was kept from me for protection. Quotes. I was the last child in a blended family of 5, 3 kids, 2 sets of adults. The truth was that these siblings I had were half siblings, but we didn't talk about it that way. One day, I realized I was becoming a very sad child. I didn't know what was happening or why I was changing so rapidly, but when I look back at my mind, it was not the traumas I was repressing around my first 7 years of life that made me sad. Their impact would be much slower, emerging through habits, future choices, and relational patterns. It was this. What's wrong with me? That thought became something's wrong with me and my own thought prison. No one did that to me, and what I'm about to reveal is something that happens to all of us. The mind's initial interpretation becomes a lie we hinge our lives on. Like a door, we open everything with it and walk right through, and it takes a long time to realize that most doors open inward. To look at this process, the mind's interpretation lying is confronted, but it's a step in the right direction. It's not a mindset shift, willpower, discipline, or knowledge. It's simply the truth. And if you're on Substack, you can click below for these inward looking resources that I have. So, in this particular story of my mind lying, which is not the only story I have, mind you, it was my mind's interpretation of my own nervous system. And once my mind could question it, there was no boundary preventing the question from becoming a statement. No adult to supervise a changing mind at the hands of a fearfully attached nervous system. You may recognize these common interpretations. I am broken. I am crazy. I am on my own. I have to keep it in. No one understands. It's too much to ask. I have to be okay. I'm better off alone. I have to need less. Being a therapist, I hear these things without them being spoken, and I help people use tools to welcome subconscious material up gently so it can be reprocessed rather than interpreted. Even still, my story exists, and in this one, I interpreted that I never belonged, and that was my own fault. I was too much, or believed too deeply, or was too small or needy, and I longed to be intelligent and independent, but that was also a false interpretation. In this part of my story, for protection, growing up, the adults thought the message should be, we are a family, but we were a different kind of family. My cousins, my friends, the neighbors, they were all connected in ways that I was left out of, and I felt it. No one else had a gap of 10 years or over 13 years between siblings who looked nothing like them. I felt it for a long time before I thought, what's wrong with me? Subconsciously, this started to translate to other questions, and I can see now how that felt like a lifeline, something I could figure out. I played spy games on everyone, looking like a doll with blinky blue eyes, smiling when I was supposed to, fearfully attaching to places I went to for daycare or babysitting, frozen in my little Velcro sneakers, self-sufficient. One day, a teenage babysitter decided it would be fun to take me shopping in town. I was 5. Unless we were going to Caldor with my mother, I didn't even know how shopping in town worked yet. I think my mother was starting to notice that being left at people's houses was hard on me, although she never asked why. I assumed all the other families were normal. I was bullied, violated, and manipulated, and I didn't say a word, thinking I should belong as best I could. While the sitter was a better alternative, I was wary of what her rules would be. While barely in tow with the sitter, I saw my sister in town and pleaded to go see her. The babysitter did not believe me. How could a brown-haired, olive-toned, green-eyed 15-year-old my mother had told her nothing about be my sister? I was told I was a brat, but I still believed vehemently, we are a family. I bit the babysitter, and then it came. What's wrong with you? Recently, 4 decades later, I asked my half-sister about this. We say sister out loud authentically now. Everyone knows, and we are healing together. It has been 40 years, and neither of us knows what happened. The babysitter never came back. Neither of us was talked to, but I know what happened for me. Something is wrong with me. I am defective. I am different, whispered in my thought prison for decades. Looking back, I know it's not helpful to think the prison bars were built by my family. I think the freer thought is that they were built by an overwhelmed child's mind trying to solve a mystery it didn't have enough information to solve. The mind is not evil, it's protective. But protective interpretations can become lifelong convictions. The accomplishments I garnered over those decades didn't remove the bars of my prison. Recognizing the subconscious thoughts by specializing in internal family systems, EMDR, and the integrative attachment theory, and performing them all on myself didn't entirely remove them either. The full toolbox is what I specialize in now as a certified clinical trauma professional level 2. But mostly, I specialize in what worked for me, because I can stand behind it without performing. I needed a healing program that shifted my interpretation on a body level. The thought prison kept me safe in many ways. I selected things that told me, this is what's right with you. We all have a whisper of faith that something is right with us, or else I would not be writing this, and you would not be reading this. Capacity builds over time for all of us to see our thought prison on a daily basis and much more deeply at the subconscious level. When that capacity builds, you can select change on a nervous system level. Everything before that phase, whether you know it or not, is part of your healing. Now I know. I want everyone to know there is a healing program you can co-create. Enter the Phase of Healing program is mine. And I would really love anyone who wants to work with me and click above. First, we have support modules that improve your structure of care, then therapy and coaching monthly. Move in and out as you need. And there's other programs out there, so you search them. But moving on, I do want to say change is possible, but it doesn't start with mindset or knowing what you want. The mind may lie, but it's not a mind that tells the truth that makes change possible. When I can help my client Shelley face her hidden core wounds regarding I am nothing, and the way she struggles with boundaries, fearfully attaching to a mother that will call her every day but never give and only take and offer up family gossip that triggers her, we see together more questions she has. Ultimately, all the questions boil down to, how can I change? Here is where we start blowing people's minds. People like Shelley, like me, maybe like you, we think we want peace in our minds. We want to connect from our goodness and finally have that be good enough. But the truth is, relatedness is hard work. There are moments of ease, but it's not all peaceful connection that deems any of us healthy, whole, heal, or sane. Regulation isn't about stillness, it's about flexibility. If you want to change, asking the question, can my system meet the challenges of a connection, is an important question. Can your system meet the challenges for the situation at hand? By system, I mean nervous system, and that nervous system is not a new one. It is imprinted on by the past. The modules of the healing program start with this key understanding. Your nervous system is imprinted on by the past. It's not about telling a therapist what happened. It's about seeing the imprint and repatterning your way of outputting what your nervous system picks up. If anyone's nervous system cannot meet the challenges of a situation, we want to know we can change and not avoid or use behaviors to sidestep the actual management of it. Patrick, a therapy goer I meet with who is entering the healing program this month, told me to share this story with you. He came to therapy 2 years ago, his marriage already on life support. When Patrick is in love, he has a different nervous system, a one he thinks is regulated, when really it is upregulated for connection. He doesn't realize it, but his connection system is looking for repair. He sees his parents' marriage as just the way it was. His mother was no longer affectionate towards his father by the time he was a teenager. They fought out of earshot. There was coldness, but no open complaint could come from the children. And his family and extended family were all configured around boys will be boys, and no one was allowed to seek connection to feel better. This created a nervous system that was out of love chemically, but his mind said, this is not fair to me. Patrick is in the program and he is learning that it is his nervous system that went into the past. Uncomfortably, his mind created, this is not fair. He is spending time learning some neurological skills that bring back what I call neurological safety. The skills help us realize how in a matter of minutes you can instantly feel safer without the use of your mind. Slowly, it creates an intelligence to pause and stay in the body. The goal for Patrick is to feel the constriction of breath, the clenching of his jaw, and the bracing in his abdomen when his wife withdraws affection, and use the skills to ground him. Watching his mind interpretation, that's not fair, well, two can play at that game, and recognizing how much more dangerous he becomes inside when he does that. Patrick is discovering something many of us never learned. Change does not happen because we finally think the right thought. It happens when we build the capacity to stay present in moments that once sent us into the past. The mind can tell a story, but the nervous system carries the imprint. When we learn to work with that imprint instead of fighting it, new choices become possible. This is the foundation of Enter the Phases of Healing, the program built from the toolbox approach through nervous system education, reprocessing, and somatic healing, narrative healing, and relational healing. Participants learn not just to understand why they react the way they do, but how to create lasting change from the inside out. Because healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about helping your system discover that it is finally safe enough to become more fully yourself. So enter the Phases of Healing program by clicking on the link or this fancy little button that Substack helped me make. And please feel free to message me if you want to learn more, or, just click and join for $45 for a month. That's just like the basic level. You can message me. And also, I'd love to build this free community. So feel free to subscribe and hold space with us. Heal on, everyone.